All right, so let's go ahead and get going here. So next thing we need to do is we need to start a stock wizard. So from there, we're going to, under the CAM tab, we're going to go over here to new job. With the new job, you're going to use milling. Now you'll see all these three showing up here. They may or may not be active on your computer, depending on what you have on your license. But we're just going to be looking at milling today. I'm going to use a BC3X mill, but if you got a specific machine that you want to use, either set it up as your default one, or you can hit the drop down and find whichever one you want to use from there. Not going to worry about any default templates here or anything. And we got stock wizard, okay, and cancel. Cancel will cancel out of the whole start of the stock wizard here. Okay, will bring up a job, a milling job for us. But if we try to create a toolpath on there, on that job, it's going to kick us back into the stock wizard and go to the stock definition page. So with that, let's just go ahead and hit stock wizard. Workpiece, this is if I want to pick the solid model off our part here. This will go into our simulation. So when we do, when we look at the simulation, we can kind of cross-reference, this is a finished part, what has been cut, what needs to be cut still, is there any gouging, that thing. That's what the stock or the workpiece is going to do. Now, you don't have to choose a workpiece. If you just have a solid model up on your screen, it will import that solid model into the simulation and utilize that as the workpiece. So we'll just go ahead and leave that, and then we'll go ahead and hit the arrow pointing to the right. This brings up our stock definition page where we have rectangle, cylinder, wireframe, solid model, STL, and revolve. Right now it's picking up the overall X and Y and Z of this part here. Now I hit 0 in there, so there's no Z depth in there, so let me go ahead and put 3 in there. But yeah, you can see it's actually picking up the overall of that stock right there. So if I wanted to, I can set some offsets in here, and 1, 2, 3 offset in the positive and negative. For this, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Excuse me. So next down is our stock orientation. This is if our stock is way out in the middle of the CAD screen somewhere, or we import it in like an assembly, import it in right where it was at on there. You can set up your stock coordinates to that if you need to, but a lot of times guys will just put it right in the center here. So from there, we'll go ahead and hit the arrow pointing to the right, and this brings up our machine 0 or part 0. Right now, our XYZ is right in the center of our part here. If I click on origin right here, I can choose any one of these snap points right there. Put it in the center there. I can put it off to the bottom left if you need to. We'll just go ahead and do that one there. But I can move it, to whatever snap point I need. If I have a solid model, if I hover over an edge, 2 snap points will show up on either end there for it. So in case I need to actually put it right here, I could do that on that. Let's go ahead and just keep it right out here for right now. From there, we move on down. We can move the X and Y around if we want to. You can see by pushing those buttons, it'll direct what that gnomon is going to do there. Remember, it's a right-hand rule there. If I choose, let's say, Y, and I want the Y going along the X direction, I'm going to come down here and choose this snap point right there, and you can see what it did. And I can hit reset stock coordinates, and of course now it's going to put in the top center of the part there. Or I can just come right up here and just put it right back here. So we'll just leave it right there. So from there, we'll move on down. We got our work offset. Work offset 1's being G54. 2 is G55, 56, 7, and so on. If for whatever reason you got a, different work offset numbers, if it's not set up in the post already, a lot of times they will be. If they're not, go ahead and get a hold of tech support. They'll be glad to help you out on that one and show you where it's at and actually probably do it for you. This is a global one, so every time we go into a new toolpath, if we have it on work offset 2, which I'm kind of hovering over right now, every time we go into the posting page, you're going to see work offset 2, work offset 2 showing up in there. So this is a global one on there. So we'll just go ahead and use the work offset 1. Base point, this is where we're going to set our, If you have Machine Sim Pro, I do. My machine goes from X0 down and all underneath here, where the top here is X0 on there. So if I wanted to, I can come here and say, let's pick my base point and pick it right here. So it's 3 inches. So now it will look like, and actually a lot of times you'll do it in the center here. There we go. That should be good. On that, so now when I go into simulation, I won't see any red or collisions happening on there. Then we have our clearance. Clearance is safety of your tool moving out to position into the home and back to the home position. So move out 1 inch above the part, and then wrap it and feed down, and then it'll wrap and feed up, and then go 1 inch above the part, and move out of the way. If you need to change it, that's where you want to change it. From there, we don't have any more arrows pointing to the right, or what I call next buttons. So we'll go ahead and hit the OK. This brings up this new tab here called Milling. So in there we have our additional functions where we can update and compute all toolpath. So if in the toolpath section, when you're done with it, you can hit finish. Once you're finished with making all your different toolpaths, you can come right up here and say compute all toolpath, and it'll just start calculating from there. You don't have to right click and compute all toolpath on each one of them. You just come up here, compute all toolpath, and it'll do it all. If we move this gnomon from the corner here to the center, after we got all our toolpaths in there, so instead of going through each one of the geometries and selecting and reselecting, doing all that, we just say update all geometries and then compute all toolpaths, and it'll calculate it all the way through. We got wrapping groups, we got add new setups, indexes, toolpath patterns in here if we need to utilize those on there. Mostly indexing and wrappings for 4-axis in there. Add a toolpath pattern to say if I want to do another one of these over in a certain distance in X or Y on there, and I can put as many in there as I want. So basically you drew it up one time, you toolpathed it one time, and now you're just going to put in these toolpath patterns in there. So just, it'll do one, then the other. Actually, it'll do it by tool. So, whatever tool we use first, it'll do that for all of them, whatever you do, and then so on. Over here we have our NC codes where we can post out our G code, and the G code will show up right here on my right hand side, and depending on how you guys got your set up, it'll show up differently too. Then we got post and save as. This is where you can save out your post, and then it will show up on the posting side there. I usually don't do that because I like to show the code first. It's still going to show the code, but if you didn't make changes, you're going to have to post and save as again. If you just post it out, you don't see what you want, then you can fix whatever you're doing, post it out again, and then in the posting page, if you right-click, you got to save as, and you can save as from there. Machining order, this allows you to go by individual feature, individual tool by machine setup, or individual tool. So by default, it usually goes by individual tool on there. So if I'm using a 3/8 and 3 different spots on 3 different tool paths, it will actually do all the 3/8 first. Where individual feature, it will look at whatever features first, second, and third. It doesn't matter if it's doing tool changes or not. Generate sheet setups. This is where you can set a generate sheet setup here, and I'll just throw something in here real quick just to show you. This allows you to print out or email off to somebody. This has all the information right here that you need. Your program data, takes a picture of your CAD screen, has your stock information, and it also has all the tools that you will be using and all the different operations with the cycle times on there. Big thing is your cycle time right there, total cycle time. As long as your feeds and speeds are set up correctly on the tool page, this is a pretty accurate time in here. Again, you can print this out. You can email it off to somebody. We do have a video online. If you go to YouTube, type in BobCAD generate sheet setup. There will be a video on there how to manipulate or modify, let's say this one here, instead of having the BobCAD logo in there, you can put your logo in there if you want to. And we'll go back to this in a little bit also. Then we have our toolpath statistics. Again, the same thing as a machine setup, but the only difference is you can't print this one out or anything. This allows you to see the total time, and depending on what jobs you have here, you can click on each one of them. You can see the time that each one is going to take, and all your toolpath data information right here also. Moving over, you got the start and stop simulation. This is where we're going to go into simulation. This is where we're going to get out of simulation from. Moving over there, we have our machining features. So save feature and load feature, whatever feature you have there, if it's something that you use all the time, go ahead and save it out, because then you can always right-click on Machine Setup 1 and you can load that feature if you want to. There. Or you can paste it from there, depending on what you want to do. You also have copy and paste. That's if you just want to do a quick copy and paste here. If you want, whatever feature it is, you can copy it, right-click on Machine Setup 1 and paste feature, or go off to another workplace, and then once you're done with that whole, let's see, new job, let's just say okay, you can paste the feature right there. So you can do that. Then we have here our different machining types here. So we got hole making operations right here. So you got your mill drill holes, tabs, counterbores. And then we got our wireframe machining, 2-axis basically. So you got facing, 2-axis, threading, 3-axis wireframe, V-tool. And then we got our solid surface machining where we got, 3-axis, which we'll be doing. And you also have mill for rotary, and we got our multi-axis. Multi-axis consists of 3 premium also. So if you have 3 premium on your license, it's under multi-axis. And with version 33 and moving forward, we added in the probing, which is under additional functions there also. Moving over to the left here, we have our machine. So if you want to change to a different machine, you definitely can do that from here, and it will change the machine. And if the post is set up properly, it'll change the post also. Material, if you want to change your material from, carbon steel to, let's say, aluminum or, plastic, whatever that may be. I'm going to do this one here. I could definitely do that. And then I got my workpiece. If I want to, not utilize this workpiece, I can get rid of it, or I can select it if I want to on there. Next over, we have our tools. So we got our tool library. And now this is breaking down into the job level. So all you're going to see is generic for probing, which that's for 33 and moving forward. We got our milling tools, all our milling tools here. And all our drilling options in here, including tabs in there. So you can see now we're not seeing water jet, lathe, plasma, laser. Yeah, I guess that's it on there. So you're not seeing all those in there. Tool crib. This is where you can set up a tool crib. If you know the tools that you're going to be using beforehand, you can come in here and create a tool crib. So when we get to the tool page, it's going to look in the tool crib first and not in the system library. We're not going to worry about that today. We're going to be just going through the system library here. But if you do want to save it out, you definitely can. If it's tools that you like to use or you use all the time, you can set those up with all, the proper feeds and speeds, the tool number if you need to, and any other information. But just remember, if you use a tool crib, and you load it in or you have it saved out, when you go through the stock wizard, once you come up to this page right here, your job setting here, you might want to come up here to tools, go to tool crib, hit import, and import it in there. Because once you start one tool path and you remember it, you got a tool crib in there that you want to use, it will not look at it anymore. So yeah, just be careful of that when you're doing that. But tool cribs are great to have. I like to use them. Especially because, I don't want to modify anything in my tool library in case something happens to them. I got this tool crib I can use. And you can also say, send it off to somebody else too and put it in their computer also on that. So tool cribs are great to use. Then we got our holders. If you want to adjust or modify or add your own holders, you definitely can here. And then you got verify tool assignment. So once you're done with everything, if you need to come in here and use, uncheck the, change the tool numbers because you didn't do it on the tool page, you didn't do it in the tool library, you didn't do it in the tool crib, you can come in here and you can fill out all the information, whatever tools you're using, you can double click in there and change the tool numbers. That's basically all you really can do on that. Then we got the machining cloud. That's something we've gone through in what's new in version 33 video. That's where you can download and import tools into the tool library and utilize them on there. Then we got the stock. If I click on the stock icon up here, this will take me into the stock definition page. If I hit the drop down, I can change the color of my stock and change it to, let's go with a yellow. I can change the transparency of it. The lower I go, the darker it may be, and I can set it as a default. Just be careful when you do something darker like this. Depending on the color, you may or may not be able to see, you know, what you're picking on here. This one's not too, too bad on there. Or we can go all the way to high. So basically, you know, it's there, but it's not there. It's invisible on that. Let's see, and again, you can always hit save as default too on there. So let me go, whoops, I want you right there. And I'm going to click on this. I'm going to blank my tool or my stock out. That's usually what I do. If I click on stock down here, it will appear. If I choose something other than stock, it will go away. You can see my machine setup, Nomen right there showed up. So if I click on workpiece or milling tools, it goes away. Then we have current settings. Now remember, this is a job level, so anything I make modification in here will not follow for me. I'll have to go back into CAM and do that again in there. In here you got your post. If you hit the 3 dots in the box here, you can come down and choose, you know, a different machine to utilize here. On that, you can, you know, really can't do much in there except for just change it, but you can set up any parameters that you need to or want to in here. You got posting. Again, make sure all this is all set up from previous. I won't go through everything over again. Multi-axis, again, don't touch that. If you have in here the output automatic comments here, this is where you're going to put your comments at. You know, it's all going to be right here, and you can, you know, just tab on through and put in whatever you want in there. And we just click OK. Now, when you generate your G-code, that's going to come out as raw text, and you'll see here in a bit. So everything that we just went through up here in the tab, or in this ribbon, excuse me, is all right in here. So if I, you know, just right-click on any one of them here, you know, I got my machine. I can change my post, that kind of stuff if I need to in there. You know, milling tools, it'll take me to my library and all that stuff in there. Bear with me. Kids are asking questions there. Sorry about that. So you can go through your library, your crib, all that kind of stuff. And same thing with the stock or your material. You can see there, I change it to the poly right there. And if I want to, I can change that again. Any questions or anything with the job setup here? All right, so from there, let's go ahead and throw some toolpath on here. So I'm gonna try to keep this the same as my previous ones here. Hopefully, I'll screw this up a lot so we can go in and modify them on here. But we're going to be mostly looking at the standard side here. So I'm going to right-click on this and go down to Mill 3-axis. Now, geometry selection here. In the old versions, 25, 26, 27, 28, I believe, up to, and maybe 29, I can't remember. Anyways, we had to select the geometry first, confirm it, and it bring us back into the screen here, and then we click on select boundaries if we needed to use those. We don't need to do that anymore. We just click on select geometry, and your data entries, you're going to have your select geometry and boundary right here. So on this, when you select geometry in a for a 3-axis toolpath, select everything. I know we're just going to be cutting inside here, and I can just pick these surfaces, but I don't want to, because if I pick this radius all the way over to this chamfer here, the tool path doesn't know that this exists or this exists in here because I only wanted to cut in here. Totally fine. All right. So that's when you use your boundaries. On this one, I'm not going to use a boundary yet. I'll come back in and do that later here and show you why I use it. So from there, let's go ahead and click OK. Again, brings us back into the geometry selection window. So from there, if I need to make any changes, go ahead and pick the appropriate thing and go from there. From here, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our feature page. So we got our clearance plane. That is grayed out. Then we have our rapid and feed moves. Top of feature, that's where you set your gnomon at. Ours is at top of feature right here. If you set it down, you know, at the bottom or something, you'll see that number reflect in there just so we know how that tool is going to run. You know, it's going to move up, you know, it's a 3-inch and we got it down at the bottom. You know, it's going to go 3 plus whatever number above on there. So from there, we'll go ahead and hit next. And we get into the strategy here. So what I'm going to look at is Z-level rough. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to hit, and before I do that, remember those changes I made in the CAM section and the default machine strategy or DMS? There it is right there. It was just spiral. We added in that rough, so there's that rough in there. So if it's a toolpath that you use all the time, utilize that strategy there, 1, 2, or 3, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Use that, and then you can basically it'll be you know, all your, you know, whatever you use is all right there on that. So, you know, you can set those up. I've not really done anything with them. I mean, it's up to you how you want to do that. So let's see, let's go. Yeah, let's just keep it here, Z-level rough, and let's see, I'm going to do a 3-axis plunge rough, and I'm going to bring that up. Whoops, down. There we go. Then I'm going to click in here because I want to do, actually, let's just do this go in order here. So Z-level, finish, planar, spiral, radial. Yeah, there we go. That should all work. All right, and of course I didn't bring it over. So there, always hit the arrow pointing to the left here. So you got Z-level rough, 3-axis plunge rough, Z-level finish, planar, spiral, and radial. All right, should be good with that. All right, so from there, we'll go ahead and hit next, and we get into our posting page. So again, you'll see here we got our work offset 1 here. If we had it in our stock wizard there, on that last page where we had the global setup, if we had a more in there, we could have actually done that. We could have put work offset 2 and we would have seen this shown up. Because we don't have a rotary here, we don't need to worry about the rotary axis here. And arc fit, this is if your machine allows for small arc moves. Okay, so by default, we have it turned off because a lot of machines can't handle it. I know my machine I ran, it could handle it. I know some machines on there and they'll get an error. And of course, that's a phone call to our tech support guys. And if they don't catch it off hand there, you know, going to the toolpath there, if it's an older machine, and again, I don't know what to consider an older machine on there. We'll go with the 80s if you guys remember those or use any of those still. Leave the arc fit off on there. So instead of going, you know, IJK value or an R value in there, it's going to be X, Y, and Z movements in there. It's going to be just straight line moves. So I will just leave that off for right now. And then from there, we'll go ahead and hit next. And we get into the tool. So by default, if I don't have a, which I don't, a tool crib set up, it's just going to look in the tool library and assume what tool to use. In here, I can go up here to, if it's a ball or a flat end mill, I can uncheck tool data here and feeds and speeds, and I can put in my own information if it's a flat or ball end mill. If, you know, I can also go in here to the tool crib, choose one of these libraries to go into. And let's see, I'll go with my 3/8 there, and we'll say okay. There it is. And whatever's in royal blue here, that's what's selected. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and say okay. And let's see. Because I made some changes on the feeds and speeds on the tool page there, you can see if I check that off, there they are right there. And all my information right there, you know, flute length. Oh, I didn't save that out. That's why. That's okay. I don't need to. So from there, we'll go ahead and hit the next button. So with the Z-level rough, think of it as a pocket operation in a 3-axis world. So we got two options here, pocket in or pocket out. We can start from the center and work our way out, or from the outside in. We'll do pocket in on this one. We'll just start from the outside, work our way in. We can do this in climb or conventional. Then we hit next, go into our parameters. So what kind of depth of cut do you want to use, and what kind of step over? So let's go 0.1, and yeah, half of that 3/8 is 1875. We'll just do 1/8. That should be fine. And then from there, we got our allowance X, Y, and Z. And then top of job or bottom of job. Now, with that, I can actually use a boundary and say, hey, with this Z-level rough, it's actually going to come out here and try to cut all this out here. Or I can say, use this boundary here, which is probably, yeah, if I use that, that should be fine. On there, I may need to go, actually it won't work on this one. On there. So top of job, bottom of job is basically, you know, I can tell it, you know, only go so far down the bottom of the job and not all the way down. In this case, I'm not going to use it for this one here. We'll use that differently. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our entry here. So plunge, we got a single depth. We can do a pack or fast pack in there. And with that, you know, you can set up your pack amount if you need to. You also can use ramp or spiral, and you can set those parameters up as needed. We'll just do a ramp in there. That should be fine. And I'm just going to leave defaults right now. Just remember, if you don't know what you're kind of looking for automatically, set it at default, because you can always go back in and change it later. So from there, let's go ahead and hit next. And we got our options page here. So we're going to cut all, or you can cut innermost or outermost, whatever you want to do. Let's do all. You can cut by area or by level. By area is going to do one side first and then the other, and by level is going to hopscotch back and forth on this one. From there, let's go ahead and hit next. We get the advanced feed rates. You're going to see advanced feed rates in every one of these toolpaths. Those are something that we put in there. So general override, convert rapids into feed, you can utilize that. And depending on the toolpath, you're going to have different options in there. So from there, we won't mess with those today. We'll go ahead and hit next. Let's see, we're going to get into, okay, so this is the 3-axis plunge here. Same, it's a roughing toolpath. We're going to go ahead and just use the 3/8 here. And we're going to hit next. Now with the plunge rough, it's just going to, you know, plunge, you know, it's just going to plunge into the part and out. And depending on how you set this up, you know, it could take a while or it can't. When I first started working here 9 years ago, this was kind of a popular toolpath that guys were using, and then it kind of faded out after a while. And I've been seeing lately a couple of them coming back and using this in here for whatever reason. You could do a zigzag in there. What kind of angle do you want to do? Remember, we start, if you're looking at a clock, our 0 and 360 starts at 3 o'clock position on there. So this would be at 0 at 3 o'clock, or you could do 12 o'clock on there if you want. It's up to you. You can do this in a climb or a conventional cut. And then what kind of step over and amounts in the X and Y do you need? And if you're confused on what 1 and 2 are, you can see they're right here. What kind of allowance do you want to leave? Tolerances, cut holes, ignore hole, top of job, bottom of job if you want to utilize that. And then we got pecking here. This allows you to peck down. So it's going to, you know, take 1/4 inch off each time or whatever amount you put in there. You could do part depth on this, or you could do step downs. With the step downs, how much you want to take off each time for that step down. You probably don't want to use peck then on there. So it's going to do 0.1 all the way around, then go down to the next level, do 0.1, and so on in there. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our options here. So do you want to extend it, or do we want to do part bottom? Let's do extents on here. Then we don't have to waterfall all the way down to the bottom. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into the links. So how do you want to, we're going to link this into a horizontal and vertical. That should be fine. And then our advanced feed rates if you need to utilize those. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our finishing. So let's go ahead and go tool crib, end mill finish, and let's change it to a quarter ball. So I'm going to hit tool label up here, and I got a quarter right there, ball. Good. Should show up there. Whatever's in royal blue, that's good. And let's see, what are we doing here? A planar. So a planar is just going to go back and forth over the part here. So again, if you need to, set up all your parameters right here. What kind of cut pattern do you want to do? Climb or conventional cut, and you can kind of see what the image is doing off to the right. What kind of depth of cut do you want to use on there? Allowance, machine tolerance, cut holes, ignore holes. Not worried about the first cut here. Top of job, bottom of job on there. And then we got our different entry and lead in and lead out. Now we're going to start getting into some lead in and lead outs here. So with the entry, we got plunge, ramp, or spiral. With the plunge, you got single pack or fast pack. And then if you want to, you can choose one of these lead in. So remember, whatever you do for the lead in, the lead out's going to follow here. So let's see, let's do, right angle, and then we'll uncheck here, and then we'll just do a vertical out. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next, and we can do all, innermost, or outermost. Let's do all on here. Do you want to do it by area, by level again? And how do you want to calculate the tool from tip or center on there? From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our linking. How do you want to link the tool path here? And you can see off to the right what it's talking about on there. Let's do follow. And then if we have any boundaries on there, do we want to follow the boundary, or do we want to link it or retract it? Meaning, you know, if it's an open area right here, it's going to retract up, over, and back down. It's kind of up to you. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next, and we get into our advanced feed rates. You can see now I got lead in and lead out percentage on there. So if I'm using a lead in and lead out, instead of going 100% of the feed rate, I can go like 30 and 250 on the lead out. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next, and we get into our planar toolpath. That was the Z-level finish. That one, the Z-level finish is and I said that all wrong too, because I said it was back and forth. Actually, Z-level finish is just going to go around the part. It's like it's a profile toolpath in a 3-axis world. That's all it does. It won't do any flats or bottoms on there, and you'll see here in a minute. The planar will go back and forth. Again, we're going to go tool crib, and we're going to choose end mill finish and say okay. We're going to use the same tool. And I'm going to hit next. We're going to do a zigzag, but you can also do zig. We can do this in a lacing angle. We'll go 0 degrees. We can go in climb and conventional in there. So what do you want to start off first? From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our step over. So whatever kind of step over you want to use, you can set there. And we got all our other parameter setups. And then you can also use this as a roughing toolpath also. There's a couple more in there, and I'll point them out because you can use either part depth or step down, and you can set the step down amount right there. Just remember, whatever that geometry is that you got selected, it may or may not cut air. It might cut air at some points on there. From there, we go ahead and hit next. We get into our next toolpath, which is the lead and entry. Again, you got the same entries, and this time you got for lead in and lead out, vertical, tangent, or horizontal, whatever you want to do in there. And remember, whatever you do on the lead in, you don't have to do on the lead out. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our options page, extents, or part bottom of the waterfall all the way down. We just want to do an extents on here. And calculate either tool tip or tool center. And then we got an option here. If you're doing a horizontal and vertical or step down, you'll want to do a horizontal vertical. If you're just doing part depth, you can do either or, it'll be fine, or you can just do follow. And then we got our advanced feed rates again. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our spiral toolpath here. So I'm going to go tool crib, ML finish. There we go, quarter, good. And I'm going to go ahead and hit next. So spiral, just going to do what it's doing. It's going to spiral. We can start from the inside or outside. Let's go from the inside, and we'll start it at 0 again. And we can do a climb or conventional cut on that. From there, we go ahead and hit next. We get into our parameters. What kind of step over do you want to do? So I'm going to do, let's do 30 thousandths on this one. And because I don't know the overall height and width on this, we can come back in and change this. I know I'm going to start at 0. I may end up going somewhere different on that, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see on there. Again, we can use this as a step down on there, or we're going to go on part depth on here. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We got our entry, and then our lead in and lead out. And then we got our options. The only thing we have here is tooltip or tool center. And then we can either do a follow or retract on there every time if we got a boundary set up. We'll just do a follow. From there, we go ahead and hit next, and we get into our advanced feed rates. And then we get into our radial. So again, we'll go to hit tool crib, finish, make sure that, there it is. Again, I'm not worried about feeds and speeds right now. We'll go ahead and hit next. So with this, we want to do a zigzag. We want to start on the inside or outside. We'll start on the inside. We can cut all, or we can cut intervals in here and say start angle of 30 degrees and end at 60 degrees on there. And we can have an angle range of something if we need to. We're just going to do cut all here. And again, you can do this clockwise or counterclockwise. From there, we go ahead and hit next, and we get into our parameters page. So we got our start or cut angle, which is 5 degrees. We may end up coming in and changing that. Our start and end radius is at 0 and 5, so it's 0 up here and 5 out to here from the center. Again, I didn't measure anything, so we'll figure this out here in a minute. Again, I can use this as a part depth, or I can go step down in there, top job, bottom of job, ignore holes, cut holes, and then allowances there and machine tolerance. Is that it? Yeah. Then we got our leads here. So we got our entry again, plunge, ramp, or spiral, single depth pack or fast pack. And then we got our lead in and lead out, where we got vertical, tangent, or horizontal in there. You can see right there. And again, whatever you do for the lead in, lead out will do the same, or you can do something different on the lead out. From there, we go ahead and hit next, and we get into our options page. So we're going to go extents, or you can go part bottom all the way down. You can calculate it by tooltip or tool center. Then we'll hit next. We can either do follow or horizontal and vertical, but because we're doing a total depth or part depth, we're going to use follow. And then we got advanced feed rates there. So at this point, I don't have any more next. I'm all finished. I got finish and compute. I'm going to go ahead and hit finish here. And I'm just going to come up here and hit save just in case, save it where it's at. And then I'll just come right here and hit compute all toolpath, and it's going to go through all its toolpathing here. And it's just taking a minute there. I don't even know what toolpath that is. It's taking that long, but that's all right. I know one of them I put in a small step over, but or step down. I didn't think it was going to take that long. And remember, I didn't set a boundary on anything, so it might be going over too. So I kind of got to be careful of that. And like I said, I can go back in and modify them if, when we see it here. Because some of the things like on the radial here, I don't know the distance from here to center to outside here. Spiral, I don't know what, I put it in as 0. I could have probably set it up right there and then come out to here, but I don't know. We'll see in a minute here. Once it's all done computing. There it goes. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on feature 3 axis here, and I'm going to come down here to blank all toolpath. So there goes our roughing toolpath. This is why, because we made that stock way out here, 1 inch on X and Y here, positive, negative, it decided to cut all that. That's why I would probably use a boundary in here. Because there's really no reason for me to cut all this out here. I can do a 2-axis toolpath that, if I really wanted to. There goes our plunge. That's actually doing exactly what I wanted to do because, yeah, that's it. There goes our Z-level finish. Again, I'm going to want to use a boundary on there because I don't want toolpath to go on the outside here. You'll notice in the 3-axis, in the Z-level finish, it's not doing the floor on there. So that's because the Z-level finish is a sidewall cutting tool also. Planar, that's doing exactly what I told it to do in there. But you got to remember, it's not actually going, it's going back and forth this way, all the way across. This. It's not, following it all the way around here. And we got radial. So actually, radial did pretty good. Okay, cool. Nice. Okay. All right, cool. So, there's a change I'm going to have to make here. Right there. So let's edit that. And that is, let's go ahead and hit next and next. So that's 2. So we know that's, let's see. That's what, 7? I think 3.5 by 3.5. And then inside width, we'll go 2 and 2. And we're going to hit finish on that one. And let's compute that real quick. I forgot what I made this rectangular cube at. So hopefully it's going to start out here and then start cutting and then cut all the way out to here. But we'll see. And I probably should have turned the machining tolerance down too, so that's okay. And it's almost done there. So this will be the last time I probably recompute that one. There we go. And I have no clue what that just did there. And where's my mouse? So that's above the part there. Okay, not a problem. Let's see. Inside width. 2, yeah, everything, something's not right there. 30,000, so I'll go 0.1 on there. So that's where I need to actually just figure out, you know, what the actual issue is on that. You know, see what my parameter setup in here is. And I'm not going to waste all your time here. So overall, you know, what's that? That's going to be evaluate measure 1. That line right there, which is total length is 4.25. So we'll edit that and we'll hit parameters and 4.25 and 4.25 because we know it's a square rectangle in there. The width, let's just put that back at 0. And finish, and let's recompute that. Now this shouldn't take long because I went from 30 thousandths down to, or up to, there we go. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted in there. All right, cool. And there goes my all right, so there we go. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and right-click on Feature 3 Axis. I'm going to go to Post Yes, No here. And then individually here, actually, let's do this. Boundary, reselect. I'm going to pick that edge right there and say OK. And on this one, let's compute it. And I'm going to do these one at a time here. There we go. I don't know why it's making those movements down there. I probably did something wrong in there, but I'm not going to worry about that. And yeah, let's compute you. Now, I probably should recompute this whole thing, but I'm not going to worry about that. Because remember, this is a global one, so that should work for all these down here on that. Oh, I got a small step over. That's probably why it's taking so long. And that's the one that took the longest before. So let's go ahead and cancel that. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit remove. I'm going to come down here and boundary this off here. I'm going to use this boundary, constant Z, say OK. And then Z level finish, same thing. Because these are individuals, because I'm not worried about the other ones on there. And this one will take no time at all. There it is. And let's edit you, and we'll go 0.1 on, yeah, 0.5. Should be fine. You can see that's cooking a little bit faster there. There we go. All right, it's doing its job. And you can see the bottom is not doing anything. So, good thing. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on this one. I'm going to go down to Post Yes, No, and do a Post Yes, No on this one. And I'm going to shrink those back up. So, I'm going to go ahead and do a save real quick. With all the changes that we've done, I don't want to lose all those in case something happens. Yeah, a couple of times Tuesday I crashed out, so, and I didn't save anything else. So I want to make sure I save. We do have an autosave in the software. I don't usually use that. I try to remember, and I always tell my people in class, you know, you be the autosave. You save it out, you know, just in case something happens. You know when you want to save it after you made some major changes like we just did here. I went ahead and saved it out. I'm not going to worry about autosave saving it up for me. All right, so we're just looking at the Z-level rough and Z-level finish here. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit run up here. And speed that up. So I probably have to go in and double check. Oh, because we're ramping in. That's why. If we used a plunge, I would have had a different view in there. Yeah, it's ramping. You know what? I'm not liking that. And I didn't set anything up in the ramp anyways. So I'm just going to change that back to plunge and recompute it. And didn't mean to do all that, but let's hit that. Edit. Lead. Plunge. Finish. We'll recompute you real quick. Excuse me. There we go. Oh, that's a lot better. Save. Start simulation. All right, so within the simulation, you got your simulation options here, your control, run speed, your views, your visibility of what you want to see. You got different tabs that you can always come over here and say, you can get rid of any of them or all of them if you want to. Whatever's set up in gold here, that's what's showing up down here, which I have everything. You can actually capture a video of this and send it off. You can actually catch a snapshot of this, send it off to somebody. You can set up different views in here. So if you do like 4 on there, you can, move that around this way individually and just kind of see, what you're going to get in there. So say I want to look at, something like that. I can do 2, 3, or I can maximize, whatever you want to do. Verification allows you to verify your part. You can zoom in on a section and then do an apply and refine on there. It'll, capture a better view of it. And then when you zoom out, actually everything else has gone away. With this, you got your workpiece stock. If you have Machine Sim Pro, you should be able to have your machine in there. This is the default one that we have in there. If you don't have Machine Sim Pro, you will not see this tool or this machine in there. You can either do it by workpiece focus or tool focus. Tool focus is where the tool will stay still and the part will move around, where workpiece focus will keep the part stationary and the tool will move around. I kind of like that one a little bit better. You can run it in different modes here, either NC, time, or length mode. And then you got material removal, or you can watch it in backplot. Material removal actually shows up as the stock on there. And then there's your workpiece. Remember, we deleted it. We just used the solid off there. There's the workpiece right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put in machine there. Oh, come on. There we go. Woo, taking up. So let's go ahead and run this here. There we go. Now we're just going to run this real at normal, one time, and then once we get through the 3-axis plunging there, we'll go back in, and I'll just fast forward through all that, and you'll be able to see. And there it is. Now with the step over on there, I didn't make it really fine or anything, but yeah, you can see all the marks in there. It was just taking forever to do that. So there goes your Z-level rough and Z-level finish. Now the next one we're going to look at here is going to be the 3-axis plunge rough. So I'm going to do a post yes no on here, post yes no here, post yes no here, and post yes no here. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and hit start simulation. Waiting for it to come up here. It's just taking a minute. And that's why I always hit save, save, save. Kind of cool. I usually do a different part on this. I usually have, a cube with a ball on, or a sphere in there, but just decided to do something different. Now here comes the planer. It's just going to go back and forth on there. This one's actually going to be a nice finish on there. There's going to be some spots on there. When it goes up the radius or something like that, it's going to skip some areas on there. which after we're done looking at these all in simulation, I'm going to go over a few of the Pro toolpaths just to show you. I'm going to bring in already known part. And you can swing this around by holding your left mouse click down. It'll rotate for you so you can kind of see, you know, that's a lot of material that's taken off. So I may end up doing something different in there. In order to do that, maybe a smaller tool, maybe a smaller step over and depth of cut or something like that on there. Okay, speed that up a little bit there. And you see it's just going back and forth on there. That's all the planer does. Even if I would have put a boundary around the outside ring here and then the inside here, you know, it'd be going back and forth. But again, it'd be, you know, here and then over to here or something like that on there. That's almost done in there. And there it is. All right, so that, yeah, like I said, it's just back and forth on there. You know, that's not too bad because we did a small step over, so there's really not much of a issue with that. So I would go something like that. All right, so let's go ahead and close that out. And as soon as sorry, this is taking so long, Nick. Let's do a post yes, no, and do a post yes, no on this one. With the post yes, no is it allows you to now show it in simulation and not post it out. So that's what I'm using it for. So let's go ahead and start simulation. There we go. All right, so instead of having you guys sit there and watch the roughing, what I'm going to do is come over here to my move list, and I'm going to click on spirals. So a little dialog box shows up right there, and that's done. So now we can just run this. And again, I'm sorry about the delays here. So you can see it's starting at the top, and it's just going to work its way down now. And again, this is, so far it looks like a toolpath I could possibly use on this. Again, I might have to adjust, you know, my inside diameter and my step over amount on there. But it keeps the tool engaged the whole time. Really nice there. Right mouse click allows you to pan right, left, up, and down. So that's what I just did there. There it is. Again, you can, it's not a bad finish, you know. Again, I'd probably adjust the step over on there, probably get a little finer in there. The only bad thing about the spiral, it does just do line moves though. So it doesn't do, you know, radius moves on there. So you can see, you know, that's all line moves right there. That's point to point, you know, all the way around on there. That's the only really downfall I see of using the spiral. All right, so let's, our last one here is that, and then we'll post yes, no on that, and hit start simulation. Now the reason why I'm keeping a roughing in there, because, you know, you don't want to be crashing the tool, and, you know, I'm just showing you, you know, different ways you can do that on there, even though you're not going to be doing that on your real machine. All right, so come over here to the move list, or I can come up here, and I got this next stop button right here. Once it activates, there we go. Does the same thing, next stop. If I decide to get rid of all my tabs here, I can utilize the next stop. So you can see what that's doing is just going up and down in a radial motion there. And again, I might want to set my you know, so it's not going all, it's going right up to the tip right there. So if I slow it down here for a couple of passes, it's going right up to here and then back down. So when it hits these clear, you know, these smoother areas up here, it's going by real quick, so you don't see it at all. And, you know, if I'm going for the scallop look, that's not bad at all. But again, I left a pretty big step over on there. I pretty should have done something a little smaller, but whatever. I kind of like that. That's not a bad finish if you're going for a look like that on there. If I was doing something like on a door or something like that, and they wanted, you know, some kind of weird thing in there, and whatever. Just thinking outside the box here, I guess. Anyways, any questions or anything with standard toolpath? All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to close both these out here. And I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to go into my C drive, Data Folder, 33, Examples, Demo Files, and I'm going to pull up this, where's the 3, Standard Pro, right there. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm only going to cut this long area out. So I'm going to come over here to Layers, and you can name it whatever you want on there. And I'm going to go over here to Create 2D, and I'm going to extract edges. I'm not going to do the whole solid. I just want that, 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 and that. And I'm going to project this up to Z, 3 inches. And I'm going to say OK and cancel, and there it is. And I picked up something I probably wasn't supposed to right there. And let's go back to extract edges, and I don't know why I did not get selected. I thought I had it. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and blank that out and come over here. And what I want to do is I'm going to get rid of a lot of this stuff. So let's say all, whoops, I want to keep most of that. No, wrong way. Am I doing that right? Yeah. Yep. Okay. So now I want to go and create lines here, which pick that snap point over to here. And do the same thing over here. I'm going to wait for, say okay. There we go. Snap point to snap point. And let's see, I'm going to go here and get rid of that piece of geometry. And I'm going to go over to utilities, trim 1. There we go. So that just creates one line right there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is while I'm in here, I'm just going to window select over that, clean up and optimize. I'm going to hit my red check mark right there. And I made some corrections in there. Like I said, no harm, no foul, green check mark. There you go. So everything looks pretty good. All right, so now I can come here. Got my boundary. Everything looks good. And let's see, let me hit F up here, and we're going to hit cancel. Cam tree, come up here and hit cam and new job. Milling, stock wizard, not worried about the workpiece. There we go. It's calculating our stock of our 3D models, not even looking at the wireframe. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hit the next button, and we're going to keep it right in the center there. I'm not going to do anything pretty with it. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and mill 3-axis again. Select geometry. I'm going to window select over everything here. If I do it right, there we go. And you'll notice I window selected over the 2D geometry. Notice it did not pick it up. So I'm going to come down here, select geometry, and I'm going to hold my shift key down and left click on this. And there's my boundary. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I'm going to use an advanced rough. Actually, I'll just click it from up here. And then on this one, I'm going to use an advanced planar and advanced sea-level finish. So with the Pro Toolpath, not everybody here will have the Pro Toolpath. They give you a lot more control, a lot more tool options also instead of just ML Rough, ML Finish, like the standard Toolpaths do. So there's a lot more information that goes on in here. I'm going to try to make this as basic as possible so you can get an idea. Posting, again, we went over that before. And I'm going to pretty much use the same tools as I did earlier. So I'm going to go in and use my 3/8 roughing. You can see here, here's all the different tools I can get. If you're running 32 or below, you only have up to lollipop. 33, we added in the barrels in here. Now we're going to move forward with those. So let me go ahead and click on 3/8 here. Yep, there we go. And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to hit next. Now here, again, think of the advanced rough as a 3-axis pocketing operation. Offset out, offset in. I can do a more spiral. Doesn't matter what the geometry is. I'm going to do a constant more spiral all the way through. I can do a parallel, or I can do adaptive. I tricordial cutting. I can do that if I want to. On this one, let's go ahead and do a parallel, and I'm going to start this at 90, or 0, I mean, on there, because I want to go in X there. I'm going to do this in zigzag, and I'm not worried about smooth connections, because not everybody has that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. I got my depth of cut and step over. Those, you know what, I'm going to leave those alone. Those are pretty good. Intermediate steps. This allows me to add in extra steps. I call them basically semi-finishing toolpaths there. So what it's going to do is going to give me an option in the options page section in here of either doing it after each toolpath. It's going to come in and put in these intermediate steps, how many I put in there, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. Or I could do it at the end after it's doing all its advanced rough. It's going to come back in and do all the intermediate steps in there. Basically, it's a semi-finishing toolpath. It's going to go ahead and smooth out any step overs that large step overs that you have done. On this one, I'm not going to worry about it. It does take a while for it to compute sometimes, depending on the part, what kind of step overs that you were doing beforehand on there. Depth options, I got min and max from machining surface, from stock, or from both. I'm going to do from both because I don't need to worry about the top of job or bottom of job on here because I got a boundary. Global, this is my allowance, X, Y, and Z, or I could do side and bottom allowance where I have one and the other, or I can, you know, put in different numbers if I want to. So we'll just look at global on here. From there, we got in our leads. So you got plunge. If you got an indexable tool that you're using, you can uncheck that and utilize the indexable on there, so it's not a center cutting tool. You can also use single depth peck or fast peck. And if you use ramp, it'll come up with another set of options in here where you have automatic, line, spiral, zigzag, or profile that you can use. We'll go ahead and just use plunge. Not worried about that. That's for 33. And then we got our options page in here. So every one of the options page has this rust roughing or rust finishing. This is the only rust roughing we have. The rest of the toolpaths are all rust finishing. What that means is that if you're going to come in with another advanced roughing toolpath, what this does, it will pick up your previous tool, the corner radius, any allowances that you left, and the stock thickness, and if you ever set that up. So basically, it says, this bigger tool went and cleaned out, cut all this out here. All you need to do as a smaller tool is cut in this area right here. We're not going to worry about that. Same thing with the rust finishing. Also in here, we got any flats, we can cut those. And then we got boundary options in here. I can stay within this boundary, right up to the line. I can stay inside it, set and offset all the way around, or outside all the way around also. I can sort this out by either by area, by level. We know what that is. And then I got my intermediates, which I didn't even select. Smoothing options allows me to, smooth out any contours or small contours on there if I need to. And then I hit next and I get into my linking. So how do I want to link my within groups and between groups? So I want to do a retract or direct. We'll do a retract on here. By default, I think it is direct and retract. From there, we go ahead and hit next, and we get into our Gauss Check. Gauss checks are if you have vices on the set up in the CAD screen here, your tool is going to be too small to get down in certain areas, or you don't want to collide into certain surfaces. You can use this Gauss Check, and you can either do a retract or a trim and relink. And with the trim and relink, it gives you other options in there also to utilize in there. I try to use the Gauss Check as my last known thing on there. If nothing else works, then I'll go in and start picking surfaces and, deciding from there how I want to do that. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our advanced feed rates. Again, you don't have to use those if you don't need to. So next thing, we got our advanced planar. So I'm going to go in here and choose end mill finish and choose the 1/4 inch ball like we did before. And I'm going to go ahead and hit next. With this, you got options in here for zigzag, just like in standard, or you can do an all up cut or an all down cut on there. We'll do zigzag, and we're going to do a lacing angle of 0. We can start in whatever corner we want. And if you want to round off any corners on there, instead of, going in as far as you can kind of round it off and go up and over on there. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our parameter set. So standard, just like in the regular planar, we can set over our step amount right here. I'll do 20 thousandths. If we do adaptive, we can have a minimum on there. So I can, that says minimum. I can do like 10,000 minimum, and it's just going to add some extra toolpath around there. Or I can do perpendicular, where it's going to add a threshold amount, where I can have it going in 2 different directions if I need to by setting a threshold amount. Here we'll just do standard, 20 thousandths. We got our machining strategy, top of job, bottom of job. We can do this with step downs like we had in the other one also. Global, and I'm not going to get into the bounds and stuff. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our leads. So again, we'll kind of lead in and lead out. Do you want to do vertical tangent? I think we'll do, and whatever you do on the lead in, you can have on the lead out, or you can choose something different. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. We get into our options page. So we got, again, center, inside, outside for the boundary. We can do extents, part bottom, waterfall all the way down, or 3D extents. We'll do 3D extents on this one. It recognizes a boundary on there, so nothing's going to be going over the part or anything. Rest finishing, again, if we're coming in with another advanced planar smaller tool, we can use that and it'll go in and just cut the areas that the bigger tool didn't do. Angle ranges, we'll get into that one here in a minute because that one's a good one to use on this one. And we can either calculate a tool tip or tool center. How do you want to link these together? Follow, horizontal and vertical. You can see off the picture. Or my favorite is blended spline. We'll do blended spline on this one. From there, we'll go ahead and hit next. And we got our Gauss Check again if you need to utilize that, and our advanced feed rates. So let's go ahead and get into the advanced level finish here. Again, we're going to use the same tool. Oh, come on. Things just taking forever. We can do top to bottom or bottom to top. We can go in a zigzag, or spiral. Let's see. Let's go in a zig motion. That should be fine. Rounded corners, conventional climb. What kind of depth of cut do we want to do? I'll do 20 thousandths on this one. You can do machine flats only. It'll only cut sidewalls. You can machine vertical walls only. Any radiuses or angles, it will bypass on there. Or we can do adaptive cutting, and you can set a maximum and minimum step over on there. We'll just do depth of cut there. Everything should be good here. And we got our lead in and lead outs if you want to utilize those. And then we got our bounding box and then our cutting extents. Now, with the cutting extents, I'm going to elaborate on this one a little bit longer here, because this one is a phone call that constantly happens when they, hey, doing an advanced level finish. It's not going to the bottom. It's only just doing the top part. I can tell you right here, it's on this options page under the cutting extents, because by default, it's set up for extents and you didn't hit part bottom. Usually, if you insist on me logging in, it's going to take longer for me to log into your computer and then show you where it's at than me telling you on the phone, and we can, go on with our day there. So whatever, it's just a common one that's always called on. Again, we got our rest finishing by area, by level, tool tip or tool center, and then the angle ranges. Again, I'm going to go into angle ranges here in a minute. Then we got undercuts. So if you want to use like a lollipop or a dovetail, we can do undercuts on there. Now, it's only going to do the undercut as wide as your the diameter of your tool here. So, whatever, I can't even think of the word it's using. Not the flute length, the whatever is sticking up in the holder here, it's only going to be that wide. I can't even think of the word. Can't believe that. Anyway, so be careful of that one. It does work. It does work nicely. Just be careful. It's only going to go as wide as that, how much is in the holder there. And then we have our linking here. So we can either do follow, direct, horizontal, direct spiral, or full retract. We'll do follow, and then we got our linking position. So whatever you do here, instead of having that witness line all the way straight down, we can offset it here if we want. Shank. Yes, you're right. Golly. That's what it is. Shank. Thanks, Matthew. Oh, man. I'm ready for this Labor Day weekend. Shank. That's what it is. It's only going to go, the width of your shank on there for the undercut. Then we got our Gauss Check and our advanced feed rates again. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and, again, hit finish on here, and I'm just going to come up here and do a save as, because I'm just going to save it to my desktop. And then I'll just right-click and do a compute toolpath right there. And this shouldn't take long to compute here. Now remember, with the Z-level finish or advanced Z-level finish and advanced planar and regular planar, they each have their own purpose. Like Z-level finish and advanced Z-level finish are sidewall cutting tools. So it doesn't get all the way to the bottom of a part. Planar, it will start skipping along on the sidewalls there. So that's why the advanced ones are really nice, because they're going to give you some options in there that the standard doesn't use. So we'll just wait here for this to get done. And the last toolpath right there. All right, there we go. So again, I'm going to blank out the toolpath there. There's our roughing. We're just doing a parallel cut, so just going back and forth. And I'm going to blank out the stock here. And there goes our planar. And you can see how, along the side there, it's actually, missing some spots. And then there's our sea-level finish. You can see it's not doing anything at the bottom there. So with that, that's where these angle ranges come in. So if I go here to options, angle ranges, 0 to 30 does all top half, 30 to 90 does all sidewall. So let's see. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll come down here and we'll just do 30 to 90. Now these are just numbers that we have in here, just for our starter numbers, but obviously you can go in and change those to whatever you want on there. And again, I got a small step over. Come on, hurry up. There we go. And of course, I'd probably come in here and, surface this area right here. But I'm not going to worry about that on that. But yeah, you can see what it's doing right there. And then this should actually be coming down this way. And again, I can mess around with those numbers in there for the angle ranges. And of course, I'm doing a real small step over, so there we go. So you can see here, unblink both of these. And let's change their color so you can see them a little bit better there. And I'm going to come up here to settings and display. It's another reason why I turned this all the way up here is because if you look at the toolpath right there, it looks like it's not there. It's actually there. And it looks like it's cutting underneath actually. So if I say okay, applying okay, there it is right there. So the shading quality works there. So you can see the difference, there's our advanced planar right here. And again, I can move those numbers all the way, up and over so I can cross over on each one of them on there. So the angle ranges work well, like I said, because the planar doesn't work well on sidewalls where the advanced Z-level finish works well on sidewalls, but not on, flat bottoms where the planar works well in on that. So you kind of, work both those two together. You can pretty much get a good finish on there. On that. But like I said, this is just a part that we have in our software that you guys can get. This is one of our demo parts in there. So I just use that. And again, I'd probably come in here and, put in a surface right here. So, it's not actually cutting anything along this edge here on the other side, which is totally fine for what we're doing on this. And we'll just run it in simulation and take a look at it. Wait for that to come in simulation. And we'll run that there. And there you go. Now, I didn't set up anything parameter-wise as far as, because I got the Machine Sim Pro, so you can see some gouging in there, which probably it's not going to happen on there. But again, you can swing that around, take a look where the planar's going. Or you can switch them around, do the Z-level finish first and then the planar, however you want to set that up. And again, I probably should have closed all this up there, just get a nice back and forth movement. But you can see, where the tool's actually gone up, and now it's going into the Z-level finish. So it's just going back and forth all the way down. And you can see it's just going to come right down to here. And again, that's where you can kind of play with the numbers on that angle ranges if you need to or want to. On there, and that's and that's, like I said, the angle ranges work well when you need them too, because they'll get into areas or do exactly what you tell it to do. You just got to mess around with the numbers on there. I just kept them at default on here. And I probably should have gone down a little bit more. There's probably, no, because I think it's joined by, yeah. Let's just zip that along and see what we got. Instead of watching the whole thing over, all the way through. Okay, there we go. So we get, it went through and picked it all up there. But yeah, you can see, you know, that's not a bad finish though. Especially, I'm just looking in this area. I'm not worried about all the concave stuff in there. Just straight, you know, with the angle ranges of what I wanted to do, it did exactly what I wanted in there. So again, you can mess around with the angle ranges on, you know, 0 to 30 or 0 to 40, 30 to 90, or, you know, 20 to 90, whatever you want it to be on there. So yeah, any questions or anything with that? So once you're done with that, now I'm just going to use this one as an example here. Wait until we get out of simulation here. I'm going to hit save just in case. So if I come up the machining order, here's all the different tools that, you know, the machining order is going to do. So rough and a planar. You know, if I wanted to, for whatever reason, nope, it's not going to let me do that. Yeah, so it won't let me do that. So it's going by individual feature on there. So, you know, that's the machining order. I got my generate sheet set up. Now I didn't save any or set up any feeds or speeds on here. So this is going to take 5 hours, 43 minutes, almost 6 hours there. You know, there's the file, the post, the machine, the date and time, and stock information, the two tools it's using. And then here goes all the information. So it looks like, you know, the Z-level finish, advanced Z-level finish is taking almost 4 hours there to cut. Like I said, I didn't put any feeds or speeds in there. And with my step over also. So again, you can print that one out. You can email it off to somebody if you need to. Toolpath statistics right there. Same time right there. And again, you can break it down to rough, advanced planar, and advanced Z-level finish right there on that. And then if I come over here, and I usually just tell guys and tell people to click on the control box or a little controller icon right there. And that generates your G-code, which comes up right here. So I'm going to right click. I could do a save as. If you do a save as, you're going to save it to that G-code to either a flash drive, network drive, or some sort of destination within your computer. Do not save this G-code directly to the desktop. If you do, the file possibly and most likely will get corrupted. There's rewrite issues on there. You can put a folder on your desktop and save it to the inside that folder on your desktop. That is fine. It's protected now. But if you just save it directly to the desktop, there are rewrite issues on there, and it will corrupt that file on there. As far as the corruption, I haven't heard anybody have any major issues with that. It was just an error that popped up on their machine that they couldn't load it on there, and that was it. They just had to repost it out and resave it somewhere else. And I just told them, you know, get a flash drive. If that's what you use, put it on that flash drive all the time. You know, whatever you want to do. If you want a copy of this, if you want to take, you know, a part of that code, you can right-click copy or Control-C and put it in, you know, Notepad, Notepad++, WordPad if you want. Right there. I just copied and pasted it in there. You could definitely do that. Let's say no to that. Or you can right-click and go NC Editor. So with the NC Editor, I'm not going to show you the pro side of it, just the standard. Basically, if you got a RS-232, go ahead and do, you know, you can set it up as needed right there with the DNC. You know, there's all your raw text in one color, your G code all in another, M code, S callouts, feed rates, and S callouts are all in the same. HD are all in the same color, you know, that type of thing on there. So it makes it a little bit easier. Even if you just got standard, it is color coordinated here for you. Also on here, you'll notice that this is program 100. On the 3233, if you have these flyouts, you can come right over here and you can type in, you know, whatever number you want in there, hit apply, and then repost out, and you'll see it show up right here. Come on. There it is, 258, right there. So you do have that option. The flyouts are really good for that kind of use on there with that. But any questions or anything out there? All right, everybody. Well, I guess I'm done for the day. If you got, any OLT on your account, go ahead and give us a call. We'll get you hooked up with some online training. If you want, a quote or, information on on-site, in-house, or a seminar, feel free to give our team a call. They'll be glad to help you out with that. Other than that, have a great Labor Day weekend, and we'll catch you next Tuesday. All right, y'all. Have a good one.